What if I told you that one of the world's most sinful, chaotic, and thrilling cities, a place where pirates drank their weight in rum and gold coins flowed like water, was swallowed by the sea in less than 20 minutes? Imagine an entire city vanishing beneath the waves, frozen in time, waiting to tell its story centuries later. Before we begin uncovering this unbelievable tale, make sure to subscribe and like, because what you're about to hear isn't just history. It's a haunting reminder of how fast paradise can turn into ruin. June 7th, 1692. It's late morning in Port Royal, Jamaica, a city bursting with life, money, and sin. Merchants shout prices across busy streets. Ships from England, Spain, and the Americas crowd the harbor. Inside smoky taverns, pirates gamble, fight, and drink away stolen fortunes. Known to sailors as the wickedest city on earth, Port Royal was more than a settlement. It was a paradise for outlaws, smugglers, and dreamers chasing gold. But at 11:43 a.m., that dream turned into a nightmare that would rewrite Caribbean history forever. In just 17 minutes, 2/3 of Port Royal sank beneath the sea. The ground itself liquefied and swallowed homes, churches, and people alive. The ocean rushed in, finishing what the earthquake had started. Thousands perished instantly, and the survivors could only watch as their city, the richest in the Caribbean, disappeared before their eyes. But here's what makes this story even more incredible. That city is still down there, perfectly preserved under layers of sand and silt, an underwater time capsule of the 17th century. To understand how Port Royal fell, you first need to understand how it lived. Founded by the English in 1655, it quickly became a booming center of trade and vice. Pirates like Henry Morgan and Charles Vane made it their home base, bringing in plundered silver, silk, and spices from across the Spanish Main. At its peak, Port Royal was wealthier than New York and more dangerous than any other city in the New World. There was one tavern for every 10 residents. Fights broke out nightly. Drunken pirates tossed coins into the streets just to watch beggars scramble for them. Clergymen warned that the city was cursed, a modern-day Sodom destined for divine punishment. And maybe they were right. Port Royal's golden age rested on a deadly flaw. It was built on sand. Literally. The city's foundation was nothing more than soft, unstable sediment reclaimed from the sea. When the earthquake hit, that sand turned to liquid, a process known as liquefaction. Entire buildings slid into the harbor as if the earth had swallowed them whole. Survivors described scenes of pure horror. Reverend Emmanuel Heath wrote that the ground rolled like waves of the sea. Cracks opened wide enough to swallow houses, then slammed shut, trapping people half-buried. Church bells clanged violently as towers collapsed. Then came a massive wave, a tsunami that swept over the ruins, dragging the remains of the city into the ocean. Ships were tossed onto rooftops, and the harbor turned into a graveyard. In less than 3 minutes, the wickedest city on earth became the Caribbean's Atlantis. In the weeks that followed, disease and chaos claimed thousands more lives. The survivors built a smaller settlement nearby, but the glory of Port Royal was gone. For nearly 300 years, it lay untouched beneath the sea, its story fading into legend. Locals spoke of ghostly ruins under the waves, but few dared to explore. That changed in the mid-20th century. In 1959, an American inventor and explorer named Edwin Link arrived in Jamaica with an idea that would change archaeology forever. He believed the sunken city could still be studied, not as a myth, but as a perfectly preserved time capsule. Using early diving gear, Link and his team descended into the murky depths. What they found was astonishing. Houses with furniture still inside, bottles sealed with air from the 1600s, and a pocket watch stopped at the exact moment the earthquake struck. Soon after, marine archaeologist Robert Marks took over the exploration. Between the 1960s and 1980s, he uncovered entire city blocks still intact. Tables were found with dinner plates, set for a meal that would never happen. Coins and jewelry were scattered across rooms frozen in time. One chest contained over 100 Spanish silver coins, evidence of the vast pirate fortunes that once flowed through Port Royal. What makes the site so remarkable is how well it was preserved. Because it was buried instantly under layers of sand, oxygen couldn't reach the ruins, preventing decay. Wooden floors, tools, furniture, even fragments of clothing survived almost perfectly. It's one of the most complete snapshots of 17th century life ever found. Historians call it the Pompeii of the Caribbean. The discoveries didn't stop there. In the 1980s and 1990s, Dr. Donnie Hamilton from Texas A&M led a new wave of excavations using sonar mapping and underwater photography. His team revealed entire neighborhoods, workshops, and fortifications. Among their finds were medical instruments from a doctor's office, children's toys, and religious artifacts, revealing that Port Royal wasn't just a pirate playground. It was a full, functioning society where families lived, doctors practiced, and craftsmen worked alongside corsairs. Even more chilling were the human remains. Skeletons were discovered frozen in their final moments, some buried under collapsed buildings, others caught mid-flight as they tried to escape the sinking ground. These remains told personal stories of the tragedy, of parents clutching children, workers trapped in shops, lovers buried side by side. Modern DNA studies are helping scientists learn who these people were and where they came from, turning anonymous bones into real human stories. Yet, here's the stunning part. Less than 10% of underwater Port Royal has been explored. The majority still lies buried beneath layers of sediment. Sonar scans show entire streets, buildings, and docks waiting to be uncovered. But exploring them is no easy task. The harbor's waters are shallow but murky, stirred constantly by ship traffic. Hurricanes and storms shift the seabed, revealing and reburying ruins. And despite legal protection, treasure hunters have repeatedly looted artifacts, destroying priceless historical context for quick profit. Preserving what's recovered is a delicate science. Artifacts that spent 300 years in salt water can crumble if exposed to air too quickly. Conservators must carefully remove salt, stabilize materials, and use polymers to preserve wood and metal. Every object, from a clay pipe to a gold coin, requires years of restoration. But it's worth it, because each item tells a story of the people who lived, celebrated, and died in Port Royal. Beyond its historical importance, Port Royal has become a living laboratory. Geologists study how earthquakes and tsunamis destroy coastal cities, lessons that could save lives in the future. Marine biologists examine how coral and fish reclaim man-made ruins, offering insights into artificial reef design. Historians use the evidence to understand trade, culture, and daily life in the 17th century Caribbean like never before. Today, Port Royal is more than an archaeological site. It's a symbol of Jamaica's heritage. Divers from around the world come to see the sunken streets of this once notorious city. Museums display its artifacts, while researchers dream of building an underwater archaeological park where visitors could swim above marked ruins and read underwater plaques telling the city's story. Virtual reality projects are even reconstructing the city digitally, allowing anyone to walk through Port Royal as it was before the disaster, without ever touching the fragile remains. And of course, comparisons to Atlantis are impossible to ignore. Like the mythical island described by Plato, Port Royal was powerful, decadent, and destroyed in a single day. But unlike Atlantis, Port Royal is real. You can dive to it, touch its walls, and see the ghostly remnants of its streets. It's living proof that legends often begin with truth. But beyond the romance of piracy and myth lies a deeper message. Port Royal reminds us how fragile civilization truly is. One moment, it was the richest city in the New World. The next, it was gone. In an age when rising seas and earthquakes threaten coastal cities worldwide, its story feels eerily familiar. The past is warning the future, and yet there's beauty in its survival. Though destroyed, Port Royal endures, not as ruins on land, but as a living memory beneath the waves. It continues to teach, inspire, and challenge us to look deeper into history and ourselves. So, could the wickedest city on Earth also be the world's real-life Atlantis? Perhaps. But maybe it's something greater, a reminder that even in destruction, history never truly dies. The sea may have taken Port Royal, but it preserved its story for generations yet to come. If this story fascinated you, make sure to subscribe and like, because there are countless more lost worlds and forgotten cities waiting to resurface, just like Port Royal.